The purpose of this tutorial is to help you with writing outputs and results in APA format. The course resources we will use are Chapter 4 of the APA Publication Manual, Chapter 2 From Numbers to Words, as well as an article, Patterns of Twitter Usage, and one cohort-based doctoral program. We will use some external resources, the Purdue OWL Online Writing Lab, and the APA Online Supplemental Resources. An overview of the tutorial. We'll cover some basic rules, reporting of statistics, and real-world examples. Some basic rules. Do not give references or formulas for common statistical measures. Do not repeat descriptive statistics in the text if they are represented in a table or figure. And use terms like respectively and in order when enumerating a series of statistics. This illustrates the relationship between the numbers in the series. Punctuation. Punctuating statistics. Use parentheses to enclose statistical values and degrees of freedom. Here are some examples. Use brackets for degrees of confidence intervals. Here's an example. Use italics for all statistical abbreviations or symbols that are standard letters. Anything from A to Z should be italicized. Do not italicize Greek letters, however. Use a 0 before the decimal point when numbers are less than 1, when the statistic can be greater than 1. Do not use a 0 before the decimal when the number cannot be greater than 1. Reporting your statistics. First, you need to explain what statistical operations were used. Remind your reader of your hypothesis. Answer the question in plain English. Discuss the statistics generated that supports your findings and interpret the results. Most important results should always go first. This is where the tables and figures should go, but only include what helps the reader understand your findings. And end your results with a summary sentence or two that elaborates on or qualifies those results. Let's take a look at some examples. This is the results section of the Pattern of Twitter Usage article. Please note from the beginning that this is not the correct APA format that you will use when writing your paper. In fact, you should note that there should be a 1-inch margin on the left and on the right, as well on the top and the bottom of your paper. All words should be double-spaced, and it should be a 12-point Times Roman font. You should also indent the first sentence of each paragraph. But let's take a look at this article just because it does a good job of just the formatting of, or organizing, I should say, of the information. So in the first paragraph, as was mentioned in the earlier part of the tutorial, the purpose here is to explain to your audience a little bit, just to kind of give them a little bit of background on the instruments that you used, the things that you used to get the results that you got. A little bit, you want to make sure that you tell them about the hypothesis. So let's take a look at this one. Note that the author explained that they used a survey. Responses were put into SPSS version 23, and that's where they got all of their descriptive and inferential analysis. They ran some frequencies, percentages, basic descriptive statistics, primarily just demonstrating how the cohort-based doctoral students used Twitter. They ran some additional statistical methods such as correlation, some t-test, as well as ANOVA. So let's take a look here. This is the first hypothesis that they addressed. Here with this, they just talk a little bit about the percentages of the makeup of the group that was the subjects of the group. They talk about the percentage of students who are the respondents that initially had Twitter before enrolling in the course. the number of students who maintain their Twitter account through the course. Despite the self-reported maintenance of the Twitter's accounts, relatively few respondents use Twitter at least daily to share any kind of information while they were in the program. Furthermore, they talk a little bit about their next question that they had in the study, and for what purposes do they use Twitter. So they actually had an instrument that they created that they adapted from a previous instrument, which was Welch and Bonin White's instrument from 2012. They reference that in the results. They talk about there was 19 items in the survey that used Likert type scales. So they're just kind of giving a little bit more information about the instruments that were used, and then following that by discussing the results they got. So notice that they talk about the instrument and the reliability of the instrument because it had a reliability measure of 0.952. And just want to note that their reliability here, they have an italicized A. And notice here that they use the 0 reporting the reliability measure in front, which indicates that the value could have been larger than 1. One thing I wanted to note that is also incorrect according to APA guideline is that we earlier mentioned that anytime you have a letter from the standard alphabet that's part of an abbreviation or a symbol, that you have to italicize. And notice here with standard deviation, they did not. With the mean, they did not. So that would be considered incorrect according to APA guidelines. The next example we'll look at is a sample APA paper, and this is in the correct APA format. Notice the double space. This is actually set up with the 1-inch margins. You'll even notice the running head at the top of the page. Note that it doesn't say running head. That's only reserved for the first page of your paper. The results sections, all of your major sections of your paper are all in capital letter followed by lowercase, and they are in bold. Each paragraph is indented, again, double spaced. One thing I just wanted to bring to your attention, notice here the abbreviations are in correct APA format. Standard deviation symbol is SD, and therefore it should be italicized. If you are reporting things where you're talking about numbers and symbols, for example, anytime there is an ability to use a symbol, it should be used. So you would never say 5 and spell out percent. If this was a chi-square, you would not say chi-square. You would actually use the chi symbol and you would square that using the tools in whatever word processing program you're using. Another thing I would like to bring to your attention is that anytime you are going to reference a table but you're following it by a noun, like in this case the word type is a noun, so it's referencing that it's in a table, you put that in parentheses. And one more thing I wanted to note, this was also a part of our most recent Chapter 9, where if we're reporting a p-value, that it is reported with 3 decimal places. And so you want to make sure that that is done correctly when you're reporting your p-values in your results section. Again, you see we've got the symbol here, and note with the p-value, again, back to p-value, there is not a 0 in front, which indicates that the p-value should be less than 1. Anyway, that pretty much sums up everything there is to know about how to report your results in APA format. If you have further questions, feel free to leave me some feedback and I will do the best I can to guide you to the correct answers. The references for this presentation are as follows.